Shalom, Israel, Shalom. This is the brother Katazi Hawad back at it with another lesson. This is going to be a part 2 to the last video I did about the importance of not committing adultery. So I got the account from Genesis chapter 39 or 37, I believe it is, with Joseph. But now I want to go into the scriptures themselves. All right. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to my teachers, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to you brothers out there laboring in this truth and faith and sincerity. Shalom to you families out there watching, waiting, praying on Yahweh Shai's second return. Peace and blessings to the house of David, the hopeful elect. All right, so the first thing you got to understand is, all right, so adultery, as they saying it here, is voluntary sexual intercourse between a married person and a person who is not his or her spouse. All right, so the reason why this is going off is because, long story short, for a man, let's say you have a wife, you're dealing with a woman, you have a wife, right? It's biblically lawful for you to deal with another woman or more women, assuming that that woman or other women are single. All right, that's not adultery. That's biblically lawful. For a woman, if you have a husband and then you deal and sleep with another man, you've committed adultery. All right. And so has that man. He's committed adultery because he slept with a woman who already has a husband. You see? So let's go in here real quick. Let's go to the blue letter. All right. And so you see, multiple accounts of it, or multiple, commands of us not committing adultery. All right. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Exodus 20:14, Leviticus 20:10. And the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. Right. So it's okay if it's biblically lawful if you a man with a wife and you want to deal with another woman. Although Great Millstone, we don't teach that you should be worrying about that in this time. All right. Because even though it's biblically lawful, that don't make it expedient. All right. Meaning you should be focused on these prophecies. You should be focused on the ministry, doing the work for the ministry, and dealing with more than one woman can take away from that, But again, every man is his own individual. And if you can balance that out and, manage being with multiple women and doing the work for the ministry, doing the work for the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, well, then all power to you. You're not going off if you do it. All right. We just advise that you don't. To commit adultery, usually of a man, always with wife of another. All right. Wife of another. Okay. So that's not sex before marriage. All right. Let's grab this too. Let's take it back to the basics real quick. This ain't meant to be nothing super long, man. All right. Okay. Genesis 4:1. And Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived. Stop right there. And Adam knew Eve his wife. What do it mean? Like he knew of her. He knew about her. He knew her favorite color was blue. He knew her favorite damn ice cream was vanilla. No, it don't mean no in that sense. It means to know a woman is to have sex with her. All right. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and what happened? And she conceived. Okay? Genesis 38:2. And Judah saw there was a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and he took her and went in unto her. Okay? So I'm showing you, to know a woman is synonymous with taking her. All right? Genesis 24:67. And Isaac brought her into his mother's Sarah's tent and took Rebekah. Okay, stop right there. And she became his wife. Isaac brought Rebekah into his mother Sarah's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, because sex is marriage. All right? Which is why we say if you had the spirit to receive it and understand it, women who come into this truth are likened unto virgins again, spiritually, which is why we say once a woman come into this truth, whatever man that she get with while she in this truth, she got to stay with that man. Like, you can't come get with a brother from you come into this truth as a woman. You don't come get with a brother of great millstone and then just up and bounce and think you can go from brother to brother. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm going with this? You got to stay with that man, Otherwise, you going off. Okay? And the Lord can definitely put you to death for that and destroy you. So for you females out there, for you women out there, man, when you come into this truth, understand the man that you dealing with or the man that you with, you got to stick by that man. All right? Because the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai frowns upon divorcing. Okay? Or you got to reconcile with that man. All right? But, we live in a modern age, man, where, a lot of females, man, that they do basically one of the only things that make a relationship irreconcilable, all right, which is dealing with another man. All right. That common misunderstandings or whatever the case may be. All right, folks can reconcile with that, but like when a woman deal with another man, all right, when your woman allows another man to enter her and to know her, to take her, all right, while y'all together, that's unforgivable. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's unforgivable. Everybody different. Look, if you a brother that you cool with that or whatever, hey, do you, man. But personally, I'm just not going for it. All right, a woman do that, man, it's over with. You know what I'm saying? It's done, data. Ain't no reconciliation. Ain't no none of that. All right, she out of there. All right. So the video that we watched, all right, if you seen part 1 to this, the video was a man catching his wife in the back seat of the car with the best man that was at their wedding. All right, I'm sure their wedding wasn't that day or nothing like that, but basically it was one of his friends, you could say. All right, relative or whatever was going on, and that drove him to to delete the woman, or at least I'm assuming she was deleted, but dude, that was the lover or whatever, he looked like he was out of there. He was in the car and the husband was just letting off shots. You know what I'm saying? Letting out his anger. All right. But this is why you are not supposed to commit adultery. Okay. This is the book of Sirach. chapter 39 and verse 28, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In a time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Right? So that woman and her lover or whatever went off, by being adulterers. And Yahweh Shem Yahushua made the husband a spirit of vengeance, man. But from the beginning, if you had a spirit to receive it, then you understand everything was already predestined. He was already predestined to be a spirit of vengeance and to knock them off, because that was going to happen, if you had a spirit to receive it and understand it. All right. Genesis 25:1. Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. All right. So our forefather Abraham took another woman. You see? Let me get you this right quick. Let me pull this out real quick. This is the book of Exodus chapter 21 and verse 10. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. All right, so that's important to understand. If a man takes him another wife, right? If you have a wife and then you want another wife, all right, that's biblically lawful. That's okay to do, but you can't show, if you continue reading on, you'll see that, you're not supposed to show favoritism. All right, you're supposed to love them both equally, which men are capable of anyway, but nonetheless, it's not adultery. All right, that's the point of me bringing that out, is that it's not adultery if you do that. Okay. And let's bring this out real quick too. This wasn't meant to be nothing long. Just give me a few more minutes. Abarat our Father will. All right. This is Ezekiel 16 and 26. Thou hast also committed fornication with the Egyptians, thy neighbors, great of flesh, and hast increased thy whoredoms to provoke me to anger. Salakia. So fornication is basically a sex, the physical form of fornication, because there's spiritual and physical fornication. Physical fornication, all right, is any sexual act that's immoral, if you will. All right. So necrophilia, sex with a dead body. All right. Bestiality, sex with an animal. Okay. Incest, sex with a relative. All right. Yeah, man. Sex that's immoral. Okay. Or wrong, if you will. Homosexuality, of course. All right. Women on women, man on man, or even sodomy, in the form of a man going in the back door of a woman. All right. You ain't supposed to move like that. You're not supposed to do that. All right. The spiritual form of fornication, which is shown about here in Ezekiel 26. The physical form of fornication, Salakia, the spiritual form is worshiping other gods. Okay. That's a form of spiritual fornication. And playing the whore, playing the harlot, if you will. All right. Let's actually get the word real quick. That's why you got to have a blue letter. We always say that's why you got to have a blue letter. And you also want the KJVA. All right. You don't necessarily have to get the apps. You can do it on the Safari if you got iPhone, Google, whatever. Or whatever kind of phone you got, you know what I'm saying, when you got the web browser, these is key to have. All right. To commit fornication, be a harlot, play the harlot, like I was saying. All right. But you doing it spiritually. Again, spiritual fornication is following after other gods, which is what our people did in Egypt. Okay. To commit adultery, to be a co-prostitute, to be unfaithful to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. You see? So let's go back. Ezekiel 16:26. Thou also hast committed fornication with the Egyptians, thy neighbors, great of flesh, and hast increased thy whoredoms to provoke me to anger. All right. Which is following and worshiping after their gods. So, for example, King Solomon had 1,000 women. He wasn't unrighteous for that. That wasn't wrong of him to do. The problem came in with some of those women, leading him astray from Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai to follow after their gods. You see? Because not one of those women were righteous. He had 1,000 women. Not a single one was righteous. All right. Which also ties into I'm not trying to be all over the place, but this also ties into the fact that this truth is mainly for us men, predominantly. For the few sisters out there that are believers and believe, that's great. Keep doing y'all thing. Keep fighting a good fight of faith. All right. But for the most part, man, this truth is for us men. All right. To preach this gospel of the kingdom. Which is why women ain't even permitted to speak. Okay, this truth is mainly for us men. So if you a brother in this truth, in this faith, all right, it's not likely that you gonna find a woman that's in this truth. All right. So, and then watch out for those, so-called sisters, man, that's, head wrapped and wearing dresses and all these different things, man. Because they learn from these other camps. So they can be too far gone. You know what I mean? Or they came into this truth, and then was dealing with a man, and then now they not dealing with him. And you know what I'm saying? You just got to watch out for stuff like that, man. All right. It ain't nothing too much to wrap your head around. All right. I'm gonna leave it off with that. Adultery is for a man sleeping with a woman that's already married or already has a husband. All right. And has a man. All right. For a woman, it's a woman sleeping with a man and she is already married. She already has a man. She already got a husband. Okay. Fornication, physical form, is any act of sex that's immoral or bad, if you will. All right. Like I said, incest, bestiality, necrophilia. It's a fucking word for it. That's how sick Esau is. All of that, man. Okay. Homosexuality, sodomy. All right. Fornication in the spiritual form is going astray from the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai to worship other gods. Okay. So yeah, man, I'm gonna leave it off with that. I hope this lesson was edifying. All right. I hope the hopeful elect were edified. I just wanted to make this real quick, straight to the point. All right. Yeah, it ain't too much more we gotta bring out. We got the point. We know what adultery is. We got the definition of it. So with that, I'm gonna give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Shalom.